Hello, everyone. How are you? How's everyone today? We are so
Hello, hello.
pleased. We are so excited and pleased to have one half of Two Crazy Ketos with us, Miss Rachel. How are
Yay!
you?
So excited to be here. It's ladies' night, clearly. The boys are away and these ladies are going to bring it tonight. I'm so excited.
That's right. The heck with the guys.
Seriously. I hope they have bail money. That's what I hope that Joe
Except
has
the ones
tonight.
in the comments section. We still appreciate you
That's right.
guys.
We're gonna
So
keep
Yes,
you
you
we
guys
guys
stick
in
do.
the.
around. You
That's
bring
right.
the male energy for us.
Sure do.
Dustin from Keto Simple. Good evening, and he has a question for you already, Rachel.
Woohoo.
Can you be
Yes.
best friends?
I am so in. I am all in for that, Dustin. Like, just such an incredible guy. I love his channel and just the energy that he brings. I was so blessed to get to meet him like at conferences last year, and I just love you. Yes, absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
so in.
he's great. He calls me his bonus mom.
Aw.
There's Lynn saying hi to Dustin.
Hey, what's up?
Well, thank you, Lynn.
Yes, thank you so much, Lynn. Hello,
Yeah,
Susie.
yeah, Rachel. I'm just going to
TGIF.
highlight these comments and see if we have any questions while we're going.
Happy Friday to everybody. It's weird for the first day of a month to be on a Friday. That's
Yes.
like very like anti opposite when you're trying to get started on something or like get into a new habit, a new routine. Isn't it supposed to be on a Monday? Like the first has to line up with a Monday.
It should, right?
Just gives you that extra punch of incentive.
Yes. I was
Right.
actually shocked to discover that Easter is actually March 31st this year.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was a big shocker for me.
It's crazy because it's one of those, floating holidays where it's either March or April. And our youngest son, Caleb, actually has a birthday on March 30th. And so some years, I can remember planning birthday parties. We were trying to plan it based on whether or not we were stepping on the toes of other like Easter activities that his friends would be doing, and then other years it wasn't a consideration at all. It'd be like mid-April or something.
Yeah.
Yep. That's like, well, I told you backstage, my husband's birthday's tomorrow. It
How
was also my
exciting.
mother's birthday.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
after
always
she had
wild.
passed away, I mean, she passed in 2002, and Brian and I met in 2003.
Oh,
I said,
wow.
"She sent you to me." That's that's it.
I love that. You guys are
But
so cute together, by the way. Like watching him and you guys eating breakfast on that, your recent, like the keto chow waffles, and he's like taste testing. He's just
Oh,
adorbs.
he's funny.
I agree. They're both so cute together.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but he's great. But then my birthday sometimes falls on Mother's Day.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. When I was born, my mom missed getting a carnation on Mother's Day by one day because I was stubborn.
Oh, you were hanging in there. I'm a
That's right.
Labor Day baby. And so usually I really honestly thought in school that we got like the Monday off for Labor Day when you would start school. A lot of times we'd start
Right.
school in like, end of August, 1st of September. And then suddenly we'd have this magical day off when we're just getting started. And I was like, you're welcome, everybody, because it's for my birthday, obviously.
Your birthday celebration.
Exactly.
You may have a
Like,
birthday twin
understand.
coming up because I'm actually going to my scheduled due date is September 3rd.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's a popular day to be born. Miriam Bear, Lynette is a September 3rd birthday. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Oh, Mary Ann, I am
Oh,
so sorry.
no.
Oh
I hope
gosh.
you feel better soon.
Black is right. That's the perfect way to
Yes.
describe it.
My sister has it too, my younger sister.
I got it 2 years ago and oh my goodness.
It's like we've had it
Wish
and it's
to
plenty
never.
enough, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Wish to never get
you're
it
not
again.
kidding.
that first experience was enough for the rest of my life.
Well, Brian and I had it for the first time right after Thanksgiving this past year. It was horrible. And then I couldn't just have that. I had to have strep with it, you know.
You're extra that way.
I am. I'm special.
That's what my meat says. That's the sticker on my
Right.
meat.
Yeah, it's craziness. So, Miss Rachel, if
Yes.
anybody that is in the chat or watches the replay or whatever doesn't know who you are,
Oh, goodness.
please tell us your story. If they don't know who you are, I don't know where they've been, but
Aw, you're awesome. I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you both for allowing me to be on this live tonight. I'm obviously without my better half. Usually I'm one half of Two Crazy Ketos and Two Crazy Campers on YouTube. We're a husband and wife team that talk about the keto lifestyle, and really our ultimate goal is to facilitate community. That's our whole mantra. I think that if you're trying to have some forward momentum in your health journey, we tend to do that part of our life in isolation by ourselves. There's a lot of loneliness when you are embarking on a health journey, especially if you're trying to turn some things around. Maybe you've made some bad choices in your eating, had some disordered eating, like I have had a lifelong relationship with disordered eating. And so you feel shame about it, and you really sort of tend to keep that to yourself. It's not something that you share, even if you're a part of larger groups, maybe part of a church or part of a school group. You still tend to keep that on the down low, private, and I think that that's honestly the worst possible thing that you could do, because you need community. I think we need to open ourselves up. I love that proverb about iron sharpening iron. How are you gonna sharpen yourself, you know? And sometimes we really dull ourselves as we try to work hard to make progress in our health journey. And so I like trying to facilitate community, because I know that as much as we need community, it's hard to make that happen. Like we say to ourselves, you know, I need more friends. I need more voices in my life, because if we just do this thing on our own, then it's like you need a second opinion. You desperately need a second opinion. But the second opinion you reach for is that same voice, your own voice, the most critical voice in your life, right?
right. It's like, I have to say, with having community, if it hadn't been for you and Joe and Dr. Barry, I would never have started my channel to tell my story.
Right.
And I'm sitting here listening to you, Rachel, and between you, Sana, and myself, we're talking over 400-pound loss, just 3 people
Yeah.
by eating the right way. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey, Cindy and Sana. Like it's such a privilege to have friends. I thought that, you know, not reaching out for community personally and trying to do things on my own, there was this thought that the nicest thing that I could do for people is not bother them. Not put my hangups, not bring my baggage. And I actually found, when I was willing to put myself out there and be vulnerable and sort of ask for friendship, that not only was I not a bother, but that people enjoyed talking and realizing that they're not alone, that we there's a commonness here in these like 3 boxes. We're all we represent, you know, these different homes, but there's a lot of similarities. And I love the fact that we can have these shared experiences, you know, especially as women, you know, and here's Sana like going through like this motherhood journey that is just so precious and exciting. And I love the fact that as she, you know, steps into, hopefully this baby's going to be a September 3rd birthday, so we can share it. But like the fact that she's going to have all of these voices to bounce off of, like this real true virtual village that from time to time has the opportunity to also meet in person in these like family reunion style like conferences and meetups, so that she feels empowered to have the best conversations with her kids as she can, and we can learn from each other.
Exactly.
Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually just checked so I don't kind of get my dates wrong, but coming up next month, I'm going to be 4 years part of the Two Crazy Ketos family, part of the Facebook group. And honestly, I stay quiet. Like I, commented on people's posts and stuff like that. But as far as like sharing for myself, it's you get to a point where it's like you're kind of in a shell for so long. And then once you kind of, like you're saying, that commonality, something kind of ignites inside of you, and you're like, you know what? This person inspired me and motivated me. Why am I not doing that for somebody else? Like, why am I almost kind of keeping myself like stuck in this mentality? Because I definitely have, a purpose to share my story to see possibly who it can help. Because sometimes, you can't always kind of set out the mission like, oh, I want to help X amount of people. You just put it out there and just kind of have the faith and the hope it's going to touch somebody.
Right. When I started, sorry, Rachel. When I started, I had talked to Brian for months and to my sister who got me started on keto.
Right.
And Rachel, I've got to tell you, thank you so much for introducing us to Cindy, to Nurse Cindy.
Oh, yes.
Don't you just love her? I was watching your last week's interview with her. She's such a firecracker, right?
She's fantastic.
Amazing,
And her and Debbie and I have been in touch since you introduced us. And that's she's just so special.
She is such a tremendous blessing. And, it takes these leaps of faith, as Sana is saying, to share. And I think that we wrongly compartmentalize ourselves when it comes to like past failures. And if we see that we have failed in a certain area of our life, for me, definitely when it comes to health momentum, when it comes to sticking to an eating plan, when it comes to successfully keeping off weight and feeling good in my body, we want to share what we're proficient in. We want to share like what we're successful at. And so a lot of times we get good in an area. Maybe it's our vocation. Maybe, for me, I was a writer. I was a teacher in kids ministry for 30 years. And so I want to talk to you about kids ministry because I'm good at that, or I see myself as good at that. But the problem is that we could honestly learn so much more if we shared those failures. If I open myself up and say, hey guys, I am number one at failing in this area of my life. Here's all of the ways that I have failed. And we can fail forward. I love the thought of saying like, hey, when creating the light bulb, this is how many light bulbs that was, incorrect, but it was leading us and eliminating all of those wrongs to find what works. And so I think that by sharing all of the potholes that I've fallen into over the years, I can help somebody avoid that and maybe, have a better shot of making this successful.
Right.
That's so true.
If each person that is telling their story can only help one other person,
right,
that's all those people that are being helped. And that was my goal when I started.
Right.
If I can just help one person.
I know, absolutely.
We're good.
And it really takes coming out of your comfort zone and kind of knowing you're not alone. Everybody else is allowing themselves to be vulnerable and to kind of open themselves up. For me, it was difficult because it was not so much like I wasn't coming to terms with my failures. it was difficult because from childhood, it was ingrained into us. You do not share what goes on behind closed doors with anybody. That is family business. That's between all of us family members and God, and that is it.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard because it's like that's ingrained into you, and you have to very much kind of grow from that as well.
Yeah.
Along with this journey, having all these other non-skill victories, that's also a huge victory. Like I really had to really work on achieving it because, regardless, if you have a channel or even if you're just on Facebook, it's not always easy to put
No.
yourself out there, but then you have to realize what you're going to gain
Yeah.
by putting yourself out there because, as you say, Rachel, it is really truly putting your faith out there that you are going to be welcome with open arms. You're not going to feel alone because this community is so amazing. So amazing. Like Cindy and myself, we tell people all the time, like, if you feel alone in this community, you are not. You are not putting yourself out there because there are so many that are just waiting, just waiting to be there to help you, to try to, guide you the best that they can. Because most definitely, anyone that's not part of the Two Crazy Ketos family Facebook group, definitely join because no one is judgmental. The
Well,
way the group is designed and the way you guys have it is just amazing because it is not like any other Facebook group that's
that is
out there.
that's something very, very important to us because we know like how hard it is to put yourself out there, how
Oh,
hard it
yes.
is if like you've been alone for a long time and you put yourself out there, if you get like the slap, when you go out there, you get that correction or you run into a person who has like self-deputized as a keto police officer, for the group, then you're going to retreat. And I think it's really important that there are safe spaces for people willing to share it. And, if somebody is out there now and they're thinking, boy, I'd like to share my story, I'd like to start a channel, but I feel like, this space is completely permeated, or like, I think it's already, everything's been done, everything's been said. No, that's not true. Your story has not been shared. And the truth of the matter is, there's somebody for everybody, and we're not everybody's cup of tea. Sometimes the greatest thing that we can do as a channel, Two Crazy Ketos, is to introduce somebody to their somebody, even if we're not that person that someone connects with, or our story isn't someone that they resonate with. We can introduce you to somebody that you do connect with, and everybody is at a different stage of life. And I need to learn from different things. I mean, even talking to our children, it wasn't us that helped our daughter and son come to keto for themselves in a low carb way of eating. They needed somebody in their age range. We were the parents, and they couldn't relate to us as far as like, their time of life, their season in life. They're in a different season of life than us. And so they needed younger people that were just starting a family and having kids of their own, for them to be their person that they could bounce ideas off of in this season of life with their unique circumstances.
Exactly. Susie has a nice comment for you and Joe. Painting and listening tonight, but wanted to say thank you from my heart to Rachel and Joe for everything they do for our community.
Well, you guys make it better. Susie, thank you for being willing to be a part of our community. We don't take that lightly. When anybody like invests their time in watching a video, or they invest their time in pinning out a post and sharing their story, we cherish that. That's a high responsibility that we have to be able to bring that, to light for other people to read. And we truly are nothing without the people willing to invest themselves and their keto journey, in us. We cherish that opportunity.
Right. Now I have to tell you, Susie was on our channel. She came on a live stream and told her story, and for not being a YouTube creator or whatever, I commend her for that so much, because so many people are afraid to get, like I was in the beginning, really afraid to get in front of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we've opened this up to anybody. If they want to come on and tell their story or just come on and have fun.
And that's a
Doesn't even
powerful
matter.
thing, because you
Mhm.
never know what someone's going to connect with. I
Right.
love y'all's attitude where it's just all about, hey, it's for the one. If there's one person that could benefit from my journey, from my experience, I want to share that. And I think that, you're just really aware that fighting for your life, fighting for your health, it's like a battlefield. It really is a battlefield. And if you're going to be willing to go out there and reach out for the one person that may need your help, you realize you're going to put yourself in a vulnerable position. You're going to make yourself open to, even friendly fire.
Right.
Definitely criticism is going to be there. People sometimes can feel like, I think sometimes also in a way to question you and see how authentic you are. They're going to push your buttons. You're going to make yourself vulnerable to criticism. But if you truly keep in your heart that realization that it is for the one, that there's somebody, like, how much is another person's wellness worth? Then it's like, okay, bring it. I will just tend to these wounds and get back to the battlefield. It's worth it.
Right.
No, that's very true.
Sharing our stories, experiences, the good, the bad, the embarrassing, and everything in between is so valuable so people can find out what they've gone through or going through, and they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. And Sana and I have always said too, there's, and I know you and Joe hear this, because I've heard it on your guys' live streams, where the camaraderie between within the community, it makes me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
To the negativity and the oh, you're not doing this right garbage, that it's just stupid. It is. It really is stupid.
And we're all going to be good at some things. We're all going to have like different challenges. And it really grinds my gears when someone gets a sacred cow. They develop a sacred cow. Like, this is the one thing that's really important, that they're very passionate about. And I acknowledge that. I respect that. But I think it's important that you realize that this is super important to you, but it may not be what someone else is prepared to embrace as their number one priority and focus. And if you really want to change someone's opinion on something, then be the lighthouse, don't be the foghorn. Like, be willing to let them come to this on their own accord. We did not start out our keto journey as meat heavy as we are now. We've come to it. It's been an evolution over time, and your tastes change, and you need to allow space and time for that. When I came to keto, I came from basically a vegetarian style for 2 years before I came to keto. I was afraid of food in all shapes and forms. I've struggled with lifelong obesity. And I had worked myself, as we've talked before, into a 500 calorie per day corner. I'd mopped myself into that corner, and I had abandoned pretty much almost solid food. I'd really worked myself into what I would say was like a senior. I wasn't chewing food anymore. I was eating oatmeal and a little bit of Greek yogurt. That's where I was at. I was honestly afraid to chew food and interact with it. I felt like I could not be trusted with food anymore. And so it was a huge leap for me to incorporate first of all, new food, because no kidding, that's all I ate for 2 years. I would take my birthday off once a year and I would go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and I would allow myself one chicken breast, one fried chicken breast. That's what I would do once a year. And even on my anniversary, I didn't participate in anything. So it was like, I was really in a place of fear and I needed that, like that tenderness, that understanding to come out because, and again, this was something I was super embarrassed of. This wasn't like a choice to be vegetarian or vegan because of like a perspective of animal rights or like a religious or a faith-based decision. This was a fear-based decision. This was 40 years of fear and just hopelessness. And so I definitely needed to take time to walk into where I am today and really celebrating having an appetite and answering that appetite. I think as women, it's one of the greatest acts of civil disobedience that we can take is eating authentically and eating as like our unique bodies dictate instead of kind of buckling to the stereotypical gender norms of what is appropriate for a woman to eat. We think that we're supposed to eat as prescribed, which is supposed to be dainty. Oh, I couldn't possibly eat another bite, and unfortunately, even though we feel like we've advanced as a society, I don't see women taking their place as they should, as swiftly as they should when it comes to celebrating the fact that they may have an appetite, right? And we need to feed that appetite. That's an authentic personal craving. And I now am so proud to celebrate the fact that I can be a hungry girl.
Right.
And I need to fuel myself appropriately, right? Like, so I can undereat, I can overeat Joe.
Dr. Barry.
Dr. Barry, I can eat him under the table. Like I have literally actually cut off food off of Bronson Dance plate and eaten the fat off of his plate, right? So like I can out eat the guys, but a lot of times we as women do ourselves like this terrible disservice by not eating to nutrient density, especially for women over the age of 40. There's so many vitamins and minerals that we're deficient in, things like B12 and magnesium and calcium. And we see it. We see commercials and products like prescribed to us that can feed, we've got iron deficiencies and it's funny because we want to tout women power, and yet we are waiting until we have made ourselves sick, we've made ourselves ill, and we have to reach out for like a doctor to prescribe something to us. And it's like, no, I can eat meat, I can eat fatty fish, I can do this for myself. This is talk about empowerment, is realizing that I can do the hard work and research to find out what's going to feed me magnesium, what's going to get me that B12. And then we can enjoy the clarity of mind. For me, part of my keto journey, we talk about it was hard to share that part of my journey wasn't just weight loss. It wasn't just fighting back anemia. It wasn't just fighting back osteoporosis and calcium deficiency and all these things. But for me, metabolic brain health was something that I really needed to focus on. But again, here I was totally embarrassed as a woman that I'm struggling with disordered eating. I'm struggling with nutrient deficiency. And so it's presenting, the world is telling me that it's mental illness. Mental illness is what something I suffered. Well, that gives you more cause to say, gosh, if I share this, if I talk about this, I'm going to come off as unstable. I'm going to be that hysterical woman, the stereotypical woman, like you can't trust her. At any minute, she's going to, press the red button, right? Like you can't let her have a position of power or authority. And so I was so embarrassed of my mental illness as it was described to me. Now I find in this like fueling of myself and in educating what vitamins and nutrients was I personally deficient in, that not only could I lose weight and maintain health momentum, but this was really what I was lacking. And it wasn't that I was mentally ill, it was that I had metabolic disease that happened to be in my body, in my brain. That's what really needed to be fueled and medicated, but not with prescription drugs, but with that weren't doing anything, that were continuing to have to be prescribed at higher and higher dosages with such terrible side effects and really limited like help.
Right.
And instead, I could fuel myself with something as simple as beef, fatty meat,
Yes.
and be able to be well and maintain wellness. So I'm really proud to be an ambassador for brain health, and I'm not ashamed anymore of my wellness journey when it comes to like my past with what would be described as mental illness.
Mm-hmm. This is a good point. If you want to share your story but don't want your own channel, reach out to him or us, and we'll provide a platform to share. Absolutely.
Yes. Because this is absolutely something we say. It is not a requirement to have a YouTube channel.
No.
If you have a story to tell, no matter how big or small you might think it is, it might be huge and life-changing to somebody else.
I
Don't
got to
ever
tell you,
think your story or your journey is small.
my
True.
sister Debbie, she said in front of Nurse Cindy one day, I have no story. And Nurse Cindy told her, don't ever let me hear you say that again. Everyone has a story.
Exactly.
And she says it all the time. She kills me.
That's what, Dr. Barry said to us, because for so long we would just kind of excuse myself, about like, I'm so sorry, we're nobody. And he really, in Dr. Barry fashion, like really took umbrage on that statement and was like, please don't say that. Like that is not true. And we need everybody's stories, and we need all of these different channels, whether it's like Instagram or TikTok or posts, or, someone who's willing to stand up at a meetup, a local meetup, and share their story or their experience, post something on somebody's channel, even leaving, their story in someone's comment that because something resonated with you. He tells us why it's important and how to begin a keto way of eating, but it's all of these different avenues that show how you live it out day to day. Living it out day to day is the hardest challenge, right? I mean, it's, the method is easy. Eat meat. Okay, the end. We never need to make another video, right? Like, it's super easy. But living it out, it's hard. It's really hard to live it out every day, through every season of life, with every unique stressor that presents itself in our days and weeks, in our relationships at work, when we're sleep deprived, when we're on vacation, like all of these seasons of life, we need to see, how do we live it out? And that's what all of these unique channels and spaces and meetups provide.
Well, I'll tell you, before I started my channel and being on your guys' live streams and telling about myself, and then you guys shared my story that I had put on your Facebook page, it was like, oh my God, that's me. Don't do that.
Same happened to me.
But you guys made it acceptable for me to do that. And yeah.
That is the greatest compliment that you guys could ever pay, is that you just felt safe to share. Like, that's what I want everybody to feel, is that they have a story that they can't keep silent anymore, that needs to be heard. And I think, growing up, I was definitely a nerd. Definitely somebody that was like not the cool kid in school. There was no room for me at the lunch table. And definitely, it's funny. My 30th high school reunion is coming up this year. And some of my like friends from high school kind of like, messaged me and stuff and said like, well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to show up to this, high school reunion? And are we going to come like we were the island of misfit toys? And that's kind of like, what I've always felt as myself is like, I'm kind of a misfit toy, a broken person. And now I celebrate that, because whenever we're talking or sharing or we're in a space like, and someone's like, well, I don't feel confident, or I've made too many mistakes, or, I don't know if I'm the person, I can totally testify that there's nobody weirder, a bigger failure, a more misfit person that's made more, mistakes than I am. So like if I'm here, you can let your guard down, because you're safe, because there's nobody weirder or making more, bad decisions than I have.
You are singing my song, girl. That's
Yes.
all there is to it.
Yes, that's so very true. Because for me, I was the black sheep everywhere. I was a black sheep at school growing up, black sheep at home, especially being like a middle child, and then the youngest of the girls, especially. So it was difficult. It was difficult. And actually, a lot of people don't possibly know my story. Some have heard it, but the perfectly imperfect came from my grandmother, because that's what my grandmother said to me. She said, listen, she said, God does not make mistakes.
No.
He just made you perfectly imperfect, and there is nothing wrong with that. So, to anybody out there that feels like they are not enough, you absolutely are. You absolutely are. And I call everybody my friends. Even the first time I called Cindy, I was like, hey, friend. And she's like, have we met before?
Right.
And I was like, well, I said, I call everybody my friend, like, especially in this community, because I said, who else? Like, who else can relate with you, can understand what you're going through firsthand than a friend?
So true. And I love that, that idea, something that I've always cherished is that idea that God's strength is made known and visual in our weakness. So how can I be the greatest light for God? Like, how can I shine his light? Well, I can shine it awesomely because I'm so broken, because there's so many cracks in my past. And it's almost like I see myself as like a shower head, right? There's so many holes poked in, which makes so many spaces for God to shine through. And really it is like his light that I want to shine. I want people to feel the love of God through us. I want people to know that they are so very cherished, that their life is meaningful, that they're created with a purpose and a plan in mind. They're not an accident. They're not a mistake. Like, they're here and can be such a blessing. And in those moments when you're feeling like, gosh, I'm the weakest, I've got the most cracks, like I'm the most cracked vessel, that like it's just like anything good spills out of me, that provides an opportunity for you to water others. If I was completely whole and there were no cracks in this vessel, then there would be nothing to share. But like, I think that's why I just want any joy that comes to us, any light, any optimism, I want that to not be like stored on the inside of us, but to just pour out on other people.
Right.
Absolutely.
Carnivore. This is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
I probably should share my story at some point. A decade ago, I had a cool 150-pound weight loss story on Mark Daly's Apple, but gained that weight back and then some. I've since come back and down 170 pounds.
Wow.
That is awesome, Charlie. And I got to meet Charlie. I went to an indie meetup and then again at an Ohio meetup last week. And he was at both of them. He's such a nice man.
And not probably, Charlie, you should. Let's take that
Yes.
probably away and let's just keep it as should
I'm
share my
I'm
journey.
challenging you out there, Charlie. Like you
Yes.
need to share it, and it's so relatable. As much as like we talk now, like at this point, I've lost 170 pounds, but I've probably lost 1,000 because I gained and lost
Mhm.
over a
Right.
lifetime. I mean, how many sets of 30 pounds? How many times can you lose 30 pounds? Right? Like I'm living proof that you can lose 1,000 pounds, 30 pounds a year. Right?
Right.
The problem with that was you'd lose 20 and you'd put back on 40. Or you'd
Yes.
lose 30 and you'd put back on 40 or 50 because things just didn't go right. It just wasn't
Yeah.
working.
And I didn't gain like a perspective. It was like you gained back the weight and lost more of your soul. You lost more of your enthusiasm. You lost more of your trust and your hope in
Yeah.
yourself. And especially if you're, a high achieving person, a person that like tries to bring your best to whatever job that you do, you're
Right.
trying to be the best mom you could be, you're trying to be the best worker at your workplace that you can be. And you feel like, gosh, I'm so disciplined in so many areas. I was like highly disciplined and hating myself. Like I was such a high achiever when it came to self-criticism. And yet for some reason, when you just feel like I can't get a handle on this, like why can't I maintain health momentum though I'm working so hard at this? Like it's just very discouraging.
Yeah.
No, it definitely is because it's so easy to beat ourselves up once you get to that point where you do gain back. Because then you think of, oh my gosh, like I had how much loss and I just let it go. And then it's like you beat yourself up. It's not so easy for us to kind of dust ourselves off and be like, you know what? I did it once before. Let me get back at it again. It's like we dwell. We spend so much time in like that darkness and dwell on everything that went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why, stories like Charlie's and yours, Rachel, is so important to everybody out there because then it just shows, look, like someone else went through it and look where they are today. So there is complete, not just victory, but just a sense of calm.
Mm-hmm.
After kind of going through that storm, there's now this sense of calm and this control
Oh, Sana,
over.
I got to tell you, your story in itself is incredible. It's
It's a
just
wild story. It is a wild
Rachel.
story.
That's one for you all to have on your podcast.
Oh,
Is Sana.
definitely.
She
Definitely. I
has
would
got
love that.
one amazing
It's
story.
crazy. I mean, between our oldest son, because my family is also keto, so our two kids, husband, uh, we all like literally proper human diet over like 5 years now. I shared on the Two Crazy Ketos family that I had to go carnivore starting last year. Pregnancy wise, this week I have actually gone ketovore. Because of course, just like many doctors out there, especially the obstetricians, think carbs like pasta and bread and rice um, are going
Oh,
to help.
she has a great video on about that. That's
But so all in all, my story is wild, completely wild, us completely as like a household unit.
Well, and that's so important. We need those family stories, right? We need that transition. Like instead, Joe and I have adult children and they're coming to find, a new way of eating journey like out of their childhood, which I'm really thankful for. But you're showing that it's possible in lifetime. Like it's possible as you're raising your children to change what you're doing and really to go against the norm. And again, we need community. We need to know that we're not the only person feeding our family this way because it's not easy. I talked to our daughter, Michelle, and, Peyton, our granddaughter, is just recently turned 1 back in November. And so they're starting to do that play date thing and they're starting starting to like join things like, tumbling classes and stuff like that. And you would think that we've arrived at a time in the world where everybody celebrates everybody else's choices, but that's not true. There's so much pressure on young families to eat the way everybody is eating. And even when she packs like a lunch for them, and brings it, and it is very low carb, lots of meat. When Peyton is reaching for a boiled egg versus a bag of like Gerber Graduates, there is a lot of judgment on what they're eating. And so if you feel like, hey, I have a keto community, I have a proper human diet community that says it's okay, like to eat, the way you're eating, and we're here for you, and you're not alone in this, it makes it easier to make those choices and be proud of the lunch you brought instead of shrinking back and feeling like, gosh, I've got to give up gymnastics, or I have to not take my kids on this play date because it's just so defeating to come out and open up this lunchbox and feel like I'm the only one eating this way and to be judged for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Brenda says in her situation with her hubby having muscular dystrophy, his family is critical of our diet. If not for the love of this family, I couldn't have made it. God bless you all.
Wow, Brenda, thank you.
Yes. And yes, Charlie, we would love to have you on also.
Now I'm intimidated, right? Don't be.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah. Sarah's another powerful story to share. She's really come through, made a lot of brave decisions, and has really seen like just tremendous health momentum, and just her spirit, her desire to focus on the good and just like learn more things about herself. Like that is always so inspiring for me when I see other ladies decide that they are worth their own investment and they're worth figuring out, especially when you come to obstacles like where Sana, you're saying that, hey, I had to go carnivore for myself personally. And this was a choice I had to make. You saw in yourself, hey, I needed to eliminate certain ingredients for me to be my best self and to feel, optimal. And it takes bravery to be willing to explore that and to say, okay, I'm really authentically going to do this N=1 experiment and realize that even within a low carb, keto, carnivore community, I'm going to be different. I see people that even within the carnivore space say, hey, certain, animal proteins don't work for me like they work for other people. And I've got to be my unique self and be willing to say like, hey, I see everybody eating this cut or this fish or this, whatever this item is. But this ingredient is still not for me.
I'll tell you, the hardest thing I've done is when I did beef, butter, bacon, and eggs in August of 2022. That was the only time in my entire keto journey now, and it's been over 3 years, that I gave up my Diet Pepsi, keto chow, everything. And I was like, I thought I was going to die. I'm like, this is crazy.
It's funny every time we do that and I come back to like dealing with my love for caffeine, and I have to slay that monster yet again. I'm like that, mythological guy that like rolls the boulder up the hill, and I think to myself, like, Rachel, we've been here before. Like, why do you keep like working up that caffeine addiction? And it is really challenging. And I'm with you. I thought, gosh, I'm going to die. And Joe was like, I don't know if this is safe for me because like, when I'm going through those caffeine withdrawals, getting like reining back in my coffee consumption, I'm not always the most pleasant person to be around.
Oh, I remember one of your videos when you were saying you're going to one coffee experience, and it's like this massive.
it's like
that giant cup.
Her face was buried in the cup.
I was adhering to the rules, but it is not easy or pleasant all the time. You know, a lot of
Plus,
times I think people think, you know, it's easy. It's easy for us. Like if it's been, you know, for me, it's been over 6 years now, for Joe's over 7. And you think, well, it's still easy. You know, sometimes we're still caught off guard by a whiff of something that hits you in the face, or like a Christmas or a holiday celebration and some sort of food that you come in contact with that kind of takes you by surprise, and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd already like dealt with all those issues. But you know, you oftentimes get to the intersection of a life moment and a past nostalgia that kind of hits you, and you have to deal with it fresh and new. And I, you know, last year when we were at Keto Palooza, I did wish upon the crowd as we were speaking, like, I hope that the struggle continues, because life represents struggle. And if you're done struggling, you're done with life. And I don't want to not have any struggles anymore. I want to have these opportunities to live and battle these, and instead be victorious. And I like what you guys were saying about how sometimes, you know, it's hard to pick yourself up, dust yourself off. And I think that that's where community really does help. That, you know, sometimes I don't have the energy or ability to dust my own self off. And because I've opened myself up to friendship, you know, you can have people check on you now in a way that they, you know, you didn't have before. And maybe it's somebody else that dusts you off and reminds you of the truth of who you are and what you're capable of. And that just is that momentum that keeps you going.
And shakes you awake.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I mean, that's something I like to remind everyone. Like me, certainly, I always call myself a work in progress, especially with my mental health. I will never say, even though I am a complete 360 to where my clinical mental health was at when it came to depression and anxiety, still like, just like you're saying, I like to consider myself a work in progress. I like to consider myself in the progress of healing and not healed. Because then once you say healed, it's like, okay, what's next?
Well, exactly. Right. And this is something that I know, if I want to maintain the success that I have, if I enjoy the activities that I'm able to participate in because I'm not locked inside of my own mind, if I enjoy being able to talk to people one-on-one and be able to speak in public and be able to engage in activities that are social, then I'm going to need to continue what I'm doing right now. I think in the past, you know, you would do these like fad diets that were, the way that they were constructed, only lended themselves to be done for a certain short period of time, a short burst before that high school reunion or a holiday party that you wanted to look your best for. That's, you know, really what we would reach for, is these fad momentary diets. And so as soon as you were done, you knew that you were going to lose your momentum. Everything that you had lost, you were probably going to gain back and more. Certainly that was true for me. But for this, this is not a matter of what size I'm going to be in. This has to do with, am I interested in maintaining the health stability, the mental stability that I enjoy right now? And so that becomes a real motivation for me to stick to this.
Right. Nancy says, I'm so blessed to find this keto community. Joe and Rachel, you have been such an inspiration in my life. Just love you guys. Thank you, Cindy, for sharing your videos. You're welcome. I can't wait to meet you at KPL.
Nancy is such so much a blessing. She actually this week, you know, something that I enjoy doing is talking about or sharing or showing things that have absolutely nothing to do with food. And I think sometimes people, especially in recent years, if they've stumbled across our channel, they're like, what is this? Like scuba diving and bicycle rides and camping and meats sometimes interspersed. Like, I don't understand what I'm watching, but really I want people to see that the best part of keto isn't just the food. Like, I love making recipes. I love making things doable and palatable for people to enjoy, but I do want people to live their life beyond the couch, get out there and have experiences. And when I see people share things beautiful that they've seen because they were out living their best life, that's something I truly enjoy. And this past week, Nancy actually sent me a text message of her and her husband Les, what they were seeing, because they had gone on this like giant bike ride, like way longer than they had anticipated.
Nice.
And it was so incredible. And she was showing me all of the beautiful flowers that were in bloom, a butterfly garden that they had discovered in their locality that they were able to have access to and even realize it existed because they were well enough to ride their bikes. And I
So
love
amazing.
I love seeing that. And it's like there are a couple of kids, just youngsters now, you know, enjoying this marriage that, you know, they've shared for decades, but now there's a spring in our step, even in our couplehood, that is afforded to us because of the way that we eat, because both of us feel good. You know, in the past, if I would lose a little bit of weight, maybe I would look, you know, cuter or thinner or some way sculpted for like an outfit that I was wearing on a date with Joe, but our dates were the same. It was like dinner and a movie and then like pass out exhausted, right? We didn't have the energy and we didn't have the mental clarity to start to see ourselves as like, you know, young lovers able to have these, you know, young people date nights. But, you know, we can do fun things and adventurous things like our young children who are in their 20s, you know, like mom and dad's like date night rivals theirs. And I love that we have the stamina and the desire to explore, you know, new things. I think that's pretty cool.
Now, how long have you and Joe been together?
We have been married now. It's going to be 17 years. And I think we're going on 18, like together as a whole. I don't remember my life before him, to be honest. Now, thankfully, but it has been an adventure full of ups and downs. And I definitely think that a mutual respect for one another has really been key. And I'm so thankful for how like God has just blessed us. I'm thankful to be in a second marriage. I think that as a second marriage, you know, what is important to you is so different. What I was looking for in a partner in life was very different the second time around. Joe married me at a higher weight. Certainly, you know, I had starved myself down for my first, you know, wedding. I can remember like it was funny because I had employed Atkins at the time to try to get down for my first wedding. But Joe married me like we say we've been together in thick and thin. And definitely he married me at, you know, at a heavy time, and we dated when I was a very heavy and lots of aches and pains. And I think I trusted him uniquely because of that. Right. Because
I totally get it.
I could just trust him. And because he didn't see me at, I don't know what people would say, it's like my youngest, my best. I came to him with a lot of brokenness, a lot of baggage, and he accepted me right where I was. And it's funny because we're very different in personality. Joe, it comes off as a very gruff guy, definitely like, you know, he'll tout himself as like rip the Band-Aid off type of person. Definitely when it comes to coaching clients, people have, you know, very different like desires when it comes to like a coach. They're thinking, gosh, if I want like, tell it to me the way it is, really honest and forthright. Like I need somebody that's, you know, going to be tough. I want Joe. And if I want somebody that's a little bit, you know, more, you know, encouraging, maybe more merciful, it's going to be Rachel. But I got to say that like Joe has most tender heart of anybody I've ever met, and as gruff as he comes across. He's just a ball of mush, and I love seeing him just stay up nights sometimes working through, like, when someone posts a challenge that they're having, they've come to a unique obstacle that they just can't get past, and how he works really tirelessly to try to problem solve and brainstorm through that. A lot of our recipes have been born out of a unique challenge somebody has, like they can't have this particular ingredient, or there's a budgetary concern, that they got to make this more affordable. They need this, something cooked up with only these ingredients or only these particular cooking utensils. And Joe's like, I've got to make this happen. And he just won't go to bed until, he finds a way to make it possible for somebody. And when I see him, make something doable, like I just fall in love with him all over again, because I see, his heart for serving others.
Yeah. Now, Sana, you and Tony just celebrated 18 years.
Yes, on Valentine's Day, we just celebrated 18 years. And I very much have like a similar, I was very heavy when we first had married. And my husband, he was thin because he's always been a construction worker. So he was always active. He didn't put on weight until we got married. Like they say a lot of men do, they put on those marriage pounds. Because now he had me there, was no longer a bachelor, had somebody cooking in the house for him. But it was very much the same, very much the same. It's kind of like you think to yourself that, is this real? Like, is this really real that I was seen as so deserving to have somebody like this?
And, we identify ourselves as a blended family. Anytime there's like a second marriage, you think about like, okay, well, you're trying to blend together. But the reality is everyone is a blended family.
Oh, yeah.
You come as two singletons, and you have your own individual ways of doing things. And so you have to like blend together, even when it's somebody that you're coming from your parents' home, you've never been married before, and you're marrying somebody, you have different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's the little things, right? Like, how do you, set up your toilet paper? Like, is it over the roll or under the roll? Like, how do you dispense your toothpaste? Is it from like the top, or is it squeezed through the bottom? And, people have different ways of doing things, and you have to blend together. Now you add a child, even though it's your child together, it screws everything up. Like, you have to figure out, how do you like be husband and wife with this like monster in the middle, and you have to blend all of your schedules and your interests together. And then, if you do have a second marriage, it's like blend it up again. Now you've got all of these things. And I think that we like fool ourselves if we don't think that there needs to be an ongoing blending, a constant revisiting of like, where are you at right now? Because the people that, Joe and I were before we were even grandparents, we're different now than we were 2 years ago. We were eating keto, but like it was different, and all of the things that come into your life and how you uniquely process it as an individual, even though you experience it as a couple, you're processing it inwardly differently. And so I even think about how we see our parents aging and how we're dealing with that, and how we're processing our becoming an empty nesters. Like, we have to constantly be checking in with each other to say like, hey, how do we need to blend? Where do we need to like come back together and work on something? Because I think that if we don't take time to do that, that's when we reach back for bad habits, familiar habits. And sometimes we can reach back to the food that we trusted to comfort us, back when we remembered like everything was fine. And there was definitely like foods that I associated with warm moments of our children being young, for instance, or foods that we celebrated with our parents, right? So we have to constantly be checking in, with each other, even though we've been together for a long time.
Right. Well, Brian and I, we just celebrated 20 years of marriage last Monday. And you talk about when you, and this is both of our third marriage. I came in the marriage with two boys, and I was very heavy. Brian's always been small, and he has one daughter that was quite a bit younger than my boys. And we met in October of 03 and we got married in February of 04.
Wow.
When you know, you
No.
know. That's all
Yeah.
there is to it. He's been such a great person to be with. And my first two marriages were horrible.
Mhm.
That's another whole story.
It's hard.
Anyway,
It's hard to put yourself out
Yeah.
there. And then you have like, I came with that, like, the
Mhm.
baggage of the first marriage and being a single parent and like,
Mhm.
and then if you're also, like me, I was, struggling with brain health because I didn't
Mhm.
know, what could help that. And so a lot of times you do some masking. You do some
Right.
masking, you try to project like what does normal look like,
Mhm.
right? I've never been accused of being normal. So,
well, I'll
but
tell
it's
you,
you tried to
Yeah.
project something that seems like, hey, I have something to offer. There's good in me, and you're almost like pleading with that person to,
Right.
to see it, to see your
Yes.
value.
right. Well, in
And that has such a
2007,
commonality. I was just going to say that has such a commonality to opening yourself up
Mhm.
to this community,
Mhm.
because my husband, he was my first boyfriend. So going from learning how to kind of be boyfriend, girlfriend, and then being married, it's completely different type of communication. So here you learn to communicate as boyfriend, girlfriend. Then you got to learn how to communicate in a marriage. But that has such a commonality with this, because really, truly, it's like if you open up yourself to the community, just like throughout the stages, that we're
Mhm.
discussing in a marriage, imagine like the stages of your journey that you could be experiencing, because sometimes that's all it takes is just to have somebody to communicate with. And it doesn't always have to be about the food, like you said, Rachel, because because you and Joe also featured my triple B&E story because I was one of those ones that when I shared my first 60 days, I lost, I want to say it was like 8 pounds, but my pictures that you guys featured, and it took a lot. It took a lot of me to share the pictures that I did, because they were very open. They
Mhm.
were very open, and probably, my father, God rest his soul, but if he saw his little girl posting pictures like that on the internet, he'd have been like, "You were wearing what? You
Right.
showed your whole belly?"
He
But
was doing flip flops in his grave.
in heaven on the clouds. But that's very much, just like we're speaking on behalf of, our personal lives, going through stages, in relationships, our marriage. It's very much like with this community, because when I did share that triple B&E, the pictures, I had so many that side chatted me that over a year later, they're still in my side chats to this day. And a lot of times when they tell me, oh, I had this and this and this, I don't think I did so well. Sometimes that person doesn't really need you to tell them, oh, well, you know what? You should have actually ate more of this, this, and this. They just need somebody to be like, well, you know what? You did an amazing job. Like they just need that affirmation. And I think that that's so important, because sometimes, when we go through things in life, it's so easy for us to think about past relationships,
Mhm.
past connections. And we forget that, you know what, there could be somebody out there that could do me a whole lot of good and give me exactly what I need, give me exactly what I need to hear to be able to keep me on track. So I think that's so huge, because even, speaking something as personal as a marriage, as what takes place with a matrimony, it's very much so the connection everyone can have within this community, because just as difficult as it is, to entrust in a significant other to build a life with, it very much so is when you connect with somebody in this community. You're really opening up yourself to this person, especially when you take it to a side chat. You're opening yourself up so much. And then you're wondering yourself, like, how much do I want to tell this person? Like, do I really want to be open with them? But it's worth it. It is so worth it.
It
Because
really is. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being that like brave to share it. And, growing up, like I was raised in like a very like strict Southern household. And I totally, that resonates with me because my grandmother, she used to get dressed up to like go to the grocery store. I mean, it was hose and a slip and like, her hair done in high heels and all of that stuff because, you didn't, she would always say, you don't need to tell all,
right.
And certainly like when we did it ourselves and I thought we've got to show, I'm going to have to be in my underwears. Joe is in his underwears in order to like show what is happening because the victory just doesn't show it all. And in my case, when I did triple B&E the first time, I lost inches, which you could visually see, but I couldn't throw up any scale numbers. There were no numbers to report. I did not lose a single pound. I had some body recomposition, but I did not have scale numbers to put up. So in order to tell the whole story, I've got to really be willing to be vulnerable. And, within the safety of our marriage and the four walls of our home, you can sort of be like, hey, it's going to be us four and no more. And this is where it's safe. And I'm not willing to put myself out to meet people in the keto space. What do I need keto friends for? Like, do I really need to go to these meetups? Do I really need to go to a conference? And I know that it's hard. And we really got super involved in going to a lot of conferences and making sure that we traveled. And now we're going to be traveling even more because I realize that for some people, it doesn't yet feel safe and natural and okay for them to come into very populated conferences yet. So Joe and I are hitting the road starting in April, and this is going to be something that I think we do like in the next couple of years where we're just going to be going city to city across America, trying to meet people like, hey, if you're willing to show up at a campsite and it's me and you and we're just one-on-one, I want to meet people and friend people if they're willing to come out of their four walls and meet me. I cherish that opportunity and I want to make it easier for them to show up to local meetups in their city. There's all of these amazing meetups. People are so far in their keto journey that they're like, okay, I've been willing to put myself out there, maybe go to a conference. And now I want to be an ambassador in my own home state, in my own city, and start like being willing to invite people in. And maybe it's into my home, maybe it's to my local Buffalo Wild Wings, but I'm going to find a way to help personally facilitate community in my local area. And we want to help, people that are willing to do that be more successful. So I'm going to go door to door if necessary to meet more people and to make it hopefully easier for them to put themselves out there, because we need everybody. We need people, everyone's story. If you haven't yet shared your story, like I want you to know, if you're watching this, you're important, you're valuable. The world is not the same without you in it. I need you in my life. And so many other people need you. And so if you're willing to muster the courage to come out and be seen and be met, like, I want to meet you.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that door knocking while you're on your way to Indiana to get your RV. Just come right up 75 to Richmond, Kentucky. There you go.
Put the bacon in the skillet, and I'm there.
We always have some in the refrigerator, already cooked.
My kind of lady.
Charlie says, I was intimidated by Rachel's eating prowess she talked about earlier.
It's scary. I'm not going to lie.
I'm gonna try to get Stacy. I think she's already gone, but I don't think you all understand how awesome you all are and how much your kindness means to me. Just wanted to let you know that. I have
Oh,
to get off now, but thank you for being my friend.
Thank you for being my friend.
Yes. She had a hard time last year, and I still think she's without a vehicle.
Mm.
And last year for KPL, she reached out to me. She says, because she lives probably about an hour away from us in, I think, Danbury. But for KPL last year, we went and picked her up so that she could get there. She had her ticket, she didn't have a way there.
Wow.
mhm.
And she's just such a sweet person.
I love what Sana said when you were saying that, like, what people need may be different than what you're thinking. You know, like
Mhm.
when people are like, "Hey, you know, they don't need more food advice, or you know,
Mhm.
what is an ingredient they need to eat. Maybe they just need a listening ear. Maybe they need a ride to a conference. Maybe they need to, you know, just have someone listen. Maybe they
Yes.
need to have someone to grab coffee with. You know, this every month we try to have like some sort of a monthly focus within the Two Crazy Ketos family, and I like to think outside of the box. I like to
Right.
think about, like, what is, you know, if someone has some movement challenges, then we can't just have like movement challenges every month, right? So I thought getting creative, that's the pursuit this month. The focus is the pursuit of more creativity. And
Mhm.
how can we be creative? And that's, you know, definitely if we are trying to be a friend to someone, if we're trying to serve this keto community, this proper human diet community, we can get creative on what does that look like. And Cindy, probably one of the greatest things that you did for somebody last year was give Stacy a ride and
Mhm.
help her to, you know, have a do-over. I know that she had reached out and said, "Man, it was challenging like that first year." And you know, making
Mhm.
friends and seeing that there was space for her within the community. Well, you made space for her within your car. Like,
Absolutely.
what a
She's
difference
she's
that
such a nice
makes.
person. And she had
Truly.
sat with us the first year that Debbie and I went. And she was just so quiet. And she said, I am going to talk more this year. I'm going to. She was just so neat.
So
She's
proud
a
of her.
good person. She said, and make me feel like I belong somewhere no matter how inadequate I am or think about myself.
And we need all different kinds of personalities, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, we
Right.
even say, you know, me and Joe, like, I'm the balloon and he's the string. Without
Right.
one or the other, like, there's no
Mhm.
purpose. So we need all of the different personalities that's in this proper human diet space.
There you go. This is one of yours. Cut 32 ounces. See, I don't do coffee. I don't drink coffee. I can't.
You're a diet soda person, more like
That's
Joe.
it. I
Yeah.
cannot stand even the smell. I just can't. If I drink it, and I've tried it, I have to doctor it up so badly. It has to taste like hot chocolate.
It's a milkshake by the time it's a hot milkshake.
Rachel, just know that our sense of humor is very similar, so we can giggle at all the inappropriate middle school humor that gets us in trouble.
Dustin, thank you for permission to be me. You know, for so long, I did feel like a weirdo. It was hard for me to just be myself. And again,
Mhm.
growing up in like a really strict, you know, ladies were supposed to talk a certain way, laugh at certain
Yes.
things, be very demure, and I am not a dainty human being, and not super elegant. And I do laugh at like very bizarre stuff. And you know, we've gotten a lot of comments and emails about like how despicable I am. And so I really
Oh my
appreciate
goodness.
and I really cling to when someone's like, it's okay, you have a middle school sense of humor. Like, I'm that person too. So like, thank you for permission to be me.
Yes,
I
and please
I'm
don't
gonna
ever change.
oh no,
Please.
I'm gonna tell you. I could go back and watch the original yogurt making videos with the nut milk bag repeatedly. And the look on Joe's face every
Yes.
time you start laughing or every time you start doing it's like, Are
And
you
let's
done?
not forget all the balls references.
Balls. Like he's married to a child. And
I'm
like
just waiting. I'm always waiting for it to come. I'm like, come on, Rachel, come on.
it's just like, and I try sometimes so hard, especially you can tell when I'm being really good because we've probably just come off of some sort of comment where Joe has been like, we have got to dial this down, like, and so, but
Please
yeah,
don't.
there'll be a
Yeah.
thought, like you can tell when I am blinking really, really hard. Jess Britt usually will from, Keto Palooza will say like, Rachel, I know you were thinking something like truly terrible because like you're
Yeah.
blinking so hard
Yeah.
and you're trying not to say it, but like it's in there.
No,
gotta tell you.
absolutely. Please don't change
No.
because very much like we're speaking, that could be very well something someone needs in their day. Like when they tune in and you have, such like a bubbly personality that someone cannot help but laugh in those moments. And that's a lot of times what some people need because a lot of
Yes.
times they're alone, they really don't have nobody. And a lot of times, a lot of us are from work to home or like whatever other responsibilities we have, we're very focused and have that tunnel vision. But then a lot of us, and I know many have said it too, like, oh, it's live time. Like I've been looking forward to this all week, all weekend. Um, and it's like a breath of fresh air to people because it's that moment where you could just relax.
And
You
just
can
have
let
a good
loose and just
time.
have an absolute blast. So
I
please
gotta
don't
tell
ever
you,
change that
Thank
about you.
you.
Please.
that's the one thing. I mean, it's so entertaining because like Joe is real focused. And you got to break him down sometime.
Oh
You
my
have
Lord.
to.
He's a mess, but it's just, but I enjoy having a good time. Like probably honestly, like the funnest part of like conferences or meetups is just that time of visiting. And yeah, sometimes we'll get done with a live stream or something. And Joe was like, did we even talk about keto? I don't think we helped any. We were talking about like movies or we were talking about something so off topic. Like I don't think, we were able to help anyone, Rachel, because we just got talking on nonsense. And I said, the nonsense is sometimes what keeps me going
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
the harsh reality of life, the facts,
Right.
they're there, they're prevalent, they're present. They're always
Yeah.
at the forefront. I know the responsibilities I have, and there's bills to pay, and there's,
Right.
duties to perform. And like, we're so good at being
Yeah.
responsible and doing all the
Mhm.
adult things that I think that we become more and more distant from that childhood faith that we need to believe for something different in our future, right? Because
Absolutely.
if we over adult this thing, then we're going to overcomplicate it. Adults make
Mhm.
things complicated.
Yes.
Adults try to put people in different compartments. It's children that
Right.
just take things at face value and can
Mhm.
just meet people, and just by virtue of the fact that we live on the same block, it just makes sense to be friends. Let's go ride our bike
Right.
together and have a good time, even though we may have all of these other differences going on inside of our unique households. And that's what I want
Right.
for the keto community. I want
Yeah.
us to be able to come together and be like, hey, we're on the same block. We're eating the same way. And though we do it a little bit differently in our unique households, if we've got time to hang out, can we just go ride bikes together? Can we just be playmates? Can we just be friends and just have a good laugh?
It's so
Exactly.
necessary sometimes. There's too much stress in the world. There's too much negativity in the world.
Mhm.
And, as far as within this community, that's
Right.
one thing Sana and I have said when we started doing these live streams. We will not handle any of the negativity, whether it's
Mm.
between people within the community or
Mhm.
somebody coming in from the outside. And, it's like we won't have it.
That's so
Like she
wise.
she
Yeah.
had handled a live stream I couldn't be on. It was when I was sick with Kip, Carnivore Kip. And there was someone in the chat I was in the chat. I just couldn't talk, so
Mhm.
I couldn't be on the stream. And I saw this comment came through and I was all over it. I'm like, "Oh no, this is not going to happen." And then Sana saw it and addressed it live and
Mm-hmm.
told this person what it was about. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just fantastic. So
And
he got
very,
it from both
very
ends.
much my Jersey girl came out of me.
You have to, if you
Mhm.
really care about the community, and that's
Mhm.
something that I'm not going to
Right.
apologize for, and I'm not going to have a long, like, I am very patient with people, but if I find somebody is like super negative, or like if somebody is, critical of others, like,
Mhm.
you're getting booted out. And
Yeah.
and I know that, people may say like, well, that's not very loving. That's not
Right.
very, Christian. I've even had people
Mhm.
email me and say like, because of you, like, forcing me out of the group, or like
Right.
excusing me for the group, like, that's not very Christian. That's not very loving. And I think that
Mhm.
that's actually the most biblical thing that I could do. That is the best shepherd of
Mhm.
what I do that I can be. I think that I have a responsibility to keep
Right.
this a safe space, and I am confident that
Mhm.
people who are seeking negativity and feel like that, if they have a place where people can really argue, there's always going to be a
Right.
place for that. I'm not
Right.
Oh,
worried
absolutely.
that they won't find a place and
Mhm.
people to debate aggressively, but
Yes.
it's not going to be in our space, and that's
Right.
something that I'm just not going to apologize for, and it's something that I'm always going to be super passionate about,
Yeah.
because it's hard. It's hard to live this way, to eat this way. And a
Right.
lot of people face discouragement in their workplace, from their doctors, even sometimes from
Right.
their partners in life. And so I'm not looking for them to have an obstacle if they're willing to put themselves out there or share time with us, for them to be like aggravated by it. So I'm
Right.
really
Exactly.
appreciative to our moderators, to those people like in our chat. That's a hard battle. And a
Mhm.
lot of times our moderators, they don't even make decisions on their own uniquely, that they'll have like a group chat within the moderator space, where they say, am I like taking this comment the wrong way?
Right.
Do you think that this person is like, what do
Mhm.
they mean by this? Like, can we get clarification? So
Mhm.
no comment is taken down, and no one is ever like excused for the group without like a real thought process put into it, because we want people to be safe to bring up things if they do have a challenge. It's not like, okay, it's Rachel and Joe's way or no way. We do want a healthy dialogue and always to be able to promote that. But it has to be from a place of respect for others.
Right.
Oh no, absolutely. Because with us talking about all the food and everything, that's all about feeding the belly in a good and proper way. But then you also got to think, you got to also feed your soul
That's
in the
right.
proper way as well. Because if you feel, as if like every time you put yourself out there that you're on this full on attack from these people that are definitely, unhappy,
Mhm.
because anybody that would try to put down another person, I can't see that person as being fully happy in their life.
Mhm.
No.
So for me, I apologized to the guest. I apologized to Kip, and I said it was something I had to address,
Mhm.
because it has to be known to everybody that is not acceptable. It's not. And I very much told that person that you need to take some time to seek within yourself what the problem is, because anything Carnivore Kip is doing is not the problem.
That's right.
And that's the thing. A lot of people, when you point fingers, and this was very much something that was, instilled into us like from when we were children. For every finger you point, think of how many fingers are pointing back at you.
That's right. And I think that, I want people I'm so excited to see people starting meetups, starting like get togethers, hosting people in their home. But I want you to be prepared if you're starting a channel, if you're starting a support group, if you are starting meetups, be prepared that everybody that shows up to a meetup may not be somebody, or somebody that shows up to your support group may not be the best fit for your group, and it is okay for you to deal with that, for
Right.
you to be like, okay, this person is not good for the group, because you have to decide at some point, like, if I continue to let this behavior keep going, we're going to lose the group altogether. It will become so exhausting, even to you as the host, or to you
Right.
as like a content creator, or you as a support group facilitator, to like have this group and then, have vampires join the group that's just sucking the life and joy out of every interaction. And sometimes, if you're like me and Joe, and we'll tell you, like, it was very challenging for us to put ourselves out there for friendship. And so sometimes if you don't have muscles for friendship building, and you're just so thankful that you have people to talk to and you have friends, sometimes you feel really weird when you do have to put somebody at arm's length, or you do have to say, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't have you come to this meetup at our house, or like you see a personality conflict or something within a support group. You've got to like muster up the bravery and strength to be able to say, like, this person is not a good fit. And for the greater good, in order to facilitate a healthy group, which is what I want, that's the goal, I may have to have some hard conversations. But trust that, like, if you're doing this for the right reason, and you have a team alongside, like that, as soon as you start having these meetups, or you have groups, or you have channels, and you start to see, hey, I've got some like-minded people, some people that I trust and value their opinion,
Right.
bounce ideas off of them. Like, I can go to you guys I know and say, like, hey, this is a dilemma that I'm having. Do you think it's right for me to answer this criticism in this way? Do you think it would be like a proactive move for me to be able to, kind of guide it in this direction? Like, I don't want to be mean. Does this sound like I'm coming off as a mean person? I know that you had Cindy last week. I love her so much. She's really somebody that we trusted to speak into our lives and let us know, like, it's time for you to leave full-time kids ministry and take this keto ministry, like, into a full-time space. We trusted her to bounce ideas off of her and be like, she knew our hearts, she knew our motivations, and she knew that when we made a decision, whatever decision that was, there was going to be pushback. There was going to be people who have different opinions. But we trusted her enough to say, like, this is the way to go. Like, this is a good thing. And like, trust you. I know your gut's already telling you, move forward with this decision. So I really think that it's important that if you're trying to be a leader in any type of group or space, that you start to get like a group of people around you that you trust their opinions and you can bounce ideas off of, because you're going to have to make some hard decisions at some point.
Oh, yeah. That's all throughout your life. I mean, I didn't get to be 65 and not learn that.
Right. No, that's very true. And I thank Nurse Cindy on the live for instilling that
I
in
just
both
love her.
you and
She's
Joe,
so sweet.
because for me, it definitely takes a special person to be able to have the heart, and just, not just the heart, but just, because we can all kind of feel inside, like, that we should be approaching something in a certain way, or we should be speaking up. And sometimes we just choose the route of being silent because it's easier. But the fact that, she felt the calling to say something, and she took a chance at it to speak up. And for her, not to worry about how it's going to be received, she just took the faith and entrusted that you both are going to receive it in the right way. So like
Yeah.
I told her, I know, Rachel and Joe, they're the ones putting all the work, into their channel, but, you know, just the fact that she took that, in trust and that faith to instill that in you both to keep going, because the way you both have grown, I mean, it's been amazing for me, like somebody that has been following for over 4 years, to see just how beautifully, and it's been so deserving, for anyone that has not been with you guys for a long time and has followed you both like Cindy and I have. Where you both are at is so deserving, and just all the conversation and the interactions you hear in the community, or even all the compliments that you see people mention of how just you both, Joe and yourself, have completely changed people's lives.
Thank you. Goodness, you're gonna get me
It,
crying, girl. Like that
Oh,
is
it,
so
we
sweet.
can't have that.
no,
All right,
but
Debbie.
But we
really, truly, it speaks volumes. It truly speaks volumes.
Okay, Debbie says now. Sana Debbie loves
Yes,
was Debbie Savings.
right.
All right, just wanted to clarify that. She says, Rachel, I know you don't know me, but you're a positive person, have such a great personality. I can't wait to meet you at KPL.
I can't wait to meet you at KPL, Debbie, and everybody. I mean, I unashamedly promote Ketopalooza in a way that we promote no other conference. Like there is just something so magical about that conference. Autumn and her entire family put so much heart and soul and intention into that conference. And that conference is really the one that is most closely like knitted with our heart, because she knows that it's good to get together, but we need help. Even in the getting together, even when you are developing friendships, that's not something that necessarily just happens organically because you're in the same space. It's sort of like when, people, when they curate different zoos or like wildlife sanctuaries, and they're like, we're just going to put all of these like animals together. And because they are all together in the same space, then of course they will organically become best friends. And it's like, that doesn't happen without help. And so she's so intentional about doing that, that I think that if you are at all trepidatious about putting yourself out there and, going and attending a conference and showing up for something, that is the safest conference to attend. That is like your best. That's the Kodak Easy Share camera of conferences. You're going to be successful, and you're going to have really, truly a picture perfect experience. That's your best shot at like beginning community.
I'll tell you, that was the first conference I'd ever gone to, was in 2022. And it was like, I don't know. I was so excited because you and Joe were going to be there. And I had that gift for you that I had made.
So
and I was
awesome.
like, holy cow, these are what do you want to like stars, TV stars or whatever. That was like, you get that because I've watched you guys all the time, from the time I started. I binge watched all your older videos and everything. It was like I knew you, but I didn't know you, and it was so exciting to meet you guys. And
it was
like,
exciting
wow.
to meet you. And like, I was so amazed by your talent that I still have. It's in my office. Like it's called, is it the diamond
painting?
Diamond painting. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love my little avocados, and I was so excited to meet you, and you were just so welcoming. So was Deb. Like, it was just awesome to put a face with a name. That's something that,
Right.
I love watching Dr. Barry meet people that I know that he's had an influence on their life. And you can see no one enjoys it more than he does, right? Like he lights up, because I think that, you do this because you want to serve others, but you're behind the camera and you only like, you see text and messages, but there's something that's so precious about meeting somebody in person, having that physical human contact. And, after the Voldemort year of 2020, I think it's even more precious than ever before because we lost a lot of social skills and we lost a lot of opportunity to be face to face and in person. And like we would see people craving that so much that I can remember people meeting up in our local Publix parking lot that year. Like, and they were in like camping chairs and like super, super far apart, but just like so that they could actually see another human person face to face. It was worth it to put themselves out there. And so like, that's how I feel every time we go to a conference and especially as new things pop up and we are able to attend them, it's like, gosh, you get to meet people that without these conferences or meetups, it just wouldn't be possible to meet them face to face.
Right. But KPL is definitely the best. Went to KetoCon last year. Deb and I are going to Hack Your Health this year. Probably would be the last time, depending on how that goes. I wasn't happy last year when they had two crazy ketos in a breakout room where you guys should have been on the main stage.
Bless your heart.
There was no room to stand. There was no room to sit. That room was absolutely packed.
Thank you for coming.
The craziest thing.
It was so awesome to like just be with everybody. And like we were just so honored. Like anytime anybody allows us to like share our story or speak publicly, like it's so victorious. It's such a privilege. And we really are so thankful for any platform. This year, it just happened to be that they scheduled Hack Your Health at the same time as the low carb cruise. And it was pretty agonizing decision for us. If I'm not mistaken, I think like Maria Emmerich may be actually catching a flight. Like I think she's on the low carb cruise, but she's actually going to try to like go to Hack Your Health as well. And so we were not financially able to make that decision. But so we had to choose one and it was hard, but we went with the low carb cruise just because of the longer, like the ability to have those longer conversations where you're like one-on-one and like grab coffee and like just sit down was just so precious to us that we were like, man, that ability to tarry longer, right? To just visit longer. And we cherish that so much. And so, yeah, we're excited.
All right. Hope or Andy, whichever one this is. This community is amazing. We're so thankful for all the people we've met in the keto and carnivore life.
Yes, we were very blessed. My family, as well as myself, we were so blessed to meet Hope and Annie in person. I wish it could have been. I wish it could have been for longer because you always wish. It's always sad to have the goodbye. But for anyone that does not know their RV channel, they are also Mission Keto. If anyone is familiar with Hope and Andy that way,
incredible family,
great people.
Beautiful
Matt
people.
says, I've never felt love in a community like I feel in this keto community. I know that if I'm struggling or want to share good news, I have people that support me in all aspects, the good and the bad.
I love that perspective. Yeah. I mean, every day isn't the best day ever. Like I think that if you want to be authentic, like just let everybody see the good and the bad. I mean, that's the most relatable. Like, the house is a mess and the dog has got like,
you see all this
skin ailments, right? Like, the kids aren't behaving like they're supposed to, things don't go as planned. And that's okay. Like that's relatable. I think that, sometimes we get hung up in that whole like Instagram perfection. Joe loves to say there's nothing instant about Instagram because like, in order to put up one picture, you've had to take up 20, change the lighting, change your outfit, to present and project this perfection. But the truth is life is not perfect and that's okay. And your real friends don't need you to be perfect and have it all together. Like they can be there. And, if you're imperfect or like you have a struggle, it's actually a blessing to others because it gives them an opportunity to lift you up and to, and maybe that's the best things that they can give you. You've been an encouragement to them or you've helped them in some way. And when you have a hard day, they have an opportunity to return the favor and just be a blessing to you.
Yeah. Well, not only
No,
that,
absolutely.
if there was so much perfection in the world, it would be a
Mhm.
boring place to live.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
true.
It really would. It would just be horrible. Try to see if there's anything else in here because it's been
And
about
you
an
know,
hour and
it's
45 minutes. I'm
it's
surprised Tony's
difficult
not calling you,
to
Sana.
Oh, because he's in the shower, that's why.
Oh,
He just showered the boys and now I hear him showering himself, funny enough. But
oh,
that's
you
the
talk
thing. I
about
mean,
what?
it's not easy to
Hold
keep
on,
a
stop.
facade. It's easy
Mm-mm.
to keep true to yourself and to keep consistent with that, and then people will eventually see that. But if you always have everything so aesthetically pleasing, in time, people will see through that and they will get tired of it. Because
It's
I
true.
can't even tell you like how many keto channels that I have seen that were doing very well 4 or 5 years ago, and people just got tired.
Mhm.
And then these channels ended up giving up because that's the thing. They so much relied on being everything but themselves.
Mhm.
And it's sad in a way because people probably would have loved their true self more than anything at all than this work they put on this facade. It's sad.
Well,
What
and
were
I
you gonna say, Cindy? I'm sorry.
That's okay. We talk about real life. One night we were on one Friday night when your son got out of the shower. She's in her son's
Oh,
bedroom when
jeez.
when we're recording. She's in his bedroom. He needed to come in and get some clothes. He's like in the background, and it was dark. It
Thankfully,
wasn't
we were
lit up like
backstage
this.
already.
And he was like flipping over the bed, and
He
oh,
was like
that is
in full
awesome.
ninja mode in
great.
his birthday suit, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, thankfully we were backstage.
It was
And
pretty
it
funny.
was just, it was just ladies. So I'm like, oh my God, thankfully
It's
they're
crazy though.
mothers, they understand.
It was so funny, I could remember in like 2020, my sister-in-law, because our nephews are younger and still school age and trying to do school through Zoom and things like that. And she goes, I saw so much of the classmates' life, right? Like that they would forget cameras were on and like, you're on the little boxes and all of a sudden mom would come in like a robe or dad would come in with something. And it was just like the teachers really had like a front row seat to just so much funny things, right? That just happened because life.
Right.
That was crazy. But yeah, I had helped my two youngest grandsons during COVID, during the pandemic with their schoolwork. But they first had to teach me the new mask because that's the most ridiculous stuff I'd ever seen in my life.
I know.
I told them, I said, what is this? And my older of the two, he's like, the box method.
And you're like,
that was
wait.
part of-
Jeez.
I'm like,
Oh my
what?
gosh.
I said, I'm going to show you the real way to do math. You're going to have to teach me that way because
We're gonna
it was crazy.
We're gonna come to the right answer, and then we will
Yes.
like backtrack to figure out like how we're supposed to arrive
Oh
at this
my
answer.
gosh.
There's Christy. She is a teacher. She said, I
She's
have
a
to teach
teacher.
that
To
math.
teach that
Me
math.
too. As a homeschooling mother, yes.
Oh,
But thankfully, I
like,
get to do it
what?
my way with
But-
homeschooling.
You all, everybody that we have on here is younger than me. You guys, I'm like, this is nuts. I had to have my grandson teach me so I could help him. What?
Ugh.
It makes sense. So I'm telling you, and there's new things coming out all of the time, new ways of
Oh,
doing
yeah.
things, and there's always like that struggle to like I want to be teachable. If there's
Right.
something new that I could learn, I always want to
Mhm.
be open and like, I don't want to be like folded arms, like you can't learn
Right.
anything new. But at the same time, when you're like, this is not going to work. Like this is, I remember talking to a parent, I was trying to describe a certain like, method. And basically I just realized this kid did not understand the word discipline. And so I asked the parent when they came to pick up their kid, like, what kind of discipline do you use in your household? And they said, oh, none. We have decided we are never going to tell our child no, because we feel like that's very negative. That has a lot of negative connotations. And I was like, I'm going to need you to check back with me when they're 16 years old, right?
Exactly. I have a coworker because apparently there is a name for it called gentle parenting.
It's called
And yes.
unemployable. You are unemployable in the future.
So and the noise that I hear from like her child, and I just, it's one of those things,
It's like, you do you.
as a fellow parent, you don't really get involved. I'm just like, oh, okay, interesting.
I would like to revisit this in a few years and see if there were any new conclusions.
Right.
Hey,
Steph says, I'm older by a year. You see my response.
66 in May.
Yes.
That's incredible. Now, wait, is Nurse Cindy is 66? Is she
Yeah.
66 yet too? Yeah,
He's
you guys are,
66.
because it's wild because she had, she talks a lot about her sister Debbie. Like it's been such a blessing to her. I know, sharing like the dynamics and how like your sister brought you to keto, and like the sameness of like her sister bringing her to keto, and like that it really is, when you can be gentle with your family members and share your way of life by example first,
Right.
and then just being patient as somebody comes to it. Like that is just such a precious gift. I know that there's probably someone out there right now beating their head against the wall being like, I wish that I could just,
Right.
get this loved one, this coworker, this person that I care about so much to just
I
like
am that
do it.
person with my son. I
Mhm.
have a son that's
Yeah.
very sick, and he won't.
It's challenging. And
It
but
is.
but I love the fact that, I love the story of David and how, as he's waiting for like what was his true purpose in life, he didn't like stay lazy about it, but he honed
Right.
skills. He learned how to play the harp. He learned, he grew himself in other ways. And like while we're waiting for our loved ones to come to this idea, we're taking that time to serve others, and to hope that, okay, maybe it's not my kid that's doing
Right.
this just yet, but it's somebody's kid that I can help right now. And I'm hopeful that someone will be the two crazy ketos for my family, in some way, because maybe, they haven't seen me personally do this long enough. They have a history with me. Maybe you've got, like, as Dr. Barry said, that powdered butt syndrome. Maybe you're trying to speak into the life of somebody older than you.
Right.
And that has its own unique challenges as well.
Yeah. It is. That's probably the worst thing about, especially being a parent of someone that needs to do what you've set the example
Yes.
for. It's not like you need to do this, but I'm not.
Right.
I
It's
did
difficult.
this,
I mean,
and
seeing
I'm still doing
anyone
this.
hurt through any sort of addiction, it's very difficult. I mean, you wish that you can just, put this person in like a bubble and protect them, especially when it's a family member, because that's when, it's only that much more personal and the hurt feels a whole lot different.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like we have to remind ourselves and think of like what we went through ourselves. No matter what addiction we all came from, it very much has to be us that has to want to change, because that is really truly a huge key component in staying consistent.
Mhm.
Because very much like a lot of this is very much mental. And if the person does not get there mentally themselves, it's going to be very difficult for them. And I'm
It's
speaking from
true.
experience at that. So I know how you feel, Cindy. I definitely do because this is, something we've spoken about a lot, but it's hard. It's hard because, I know there's so many of us that we've lost family members to a lot of diseases. And we say now, like, oh my gosh, like we feel like we're carrying like guilt and we're feeling like we're kind of burdening ourselves with the hurt that we wish we could have saved them
Yeah.
only because we know so much. But the thing is, it's like you can't because then it's kind of like it makes you carry this hurt and you shouldn't have to carry that hurt. You have to very much feel like you continuing on is helping that person, even if it might be from a distance. Anytime you have interaction with this person, they see you in person, they're seeing, you know, time after time how you personally are changing and how you are living your best life. And hold on to that. Hold on to that because that right there could be huge, even if that person doesn't express on it. You never know. Like that could one day be like their aha moment. Like, oh wow, like look at Cindy, like she's how many years later still doing so well. But they have to take that step to change. I know it's difficult. It's so hard because
It's
I
you
know
know
we
there
just want to shake them and be like, come on, like just give it 30 days and see how you'll feel.
but you know what? They're grown-ups. They're in
Mhm.
their 40s
That's the thing.
and
Mm,
they got to do what they're going to do. And
Yep.
I
It
have
has
come
to
to
start
terms
with
with that.
them.
It's just
Yes.
aggravating. It's like you love somebody
Yep.
unconditionally, but you
Oh
just
yeah.
want to shoot them.
Right. Well,
Don't say that.
you want to stop the pain. Like our
Right.
youngest son Caleb actually decided it was a strategic move to be keto when he was in his senior year of high school, and he had tremendous success. It was like all the acne went away and he felt great. He felt like he was putting his best foot forward with mental clarity when it came to like pursuing scholarships and taking tests and stuff. It would like put him in the best possible perspective. And then a side effect was the fact that he struggled with migraines since he was a baby, and all of that went away. And then he was just going to take a little vacation as soon as high school was over, and just enjoy his summer. And he hasn't come back to that. Now he's going to be like, he's one semester away from finishing his bachelor's degree this year. And oftentimes, like, he comes and talks to me and says, I know ultimately I need to get back there. I know I felt the best. I can absolutely testify like it would completely changed how I felt, like how I thought. I felt great. But this is really hard, mom. And I want to come back to it, but this is hard to live out daily. And I pursue like limiting the amount of sugar in my life. But boy, this sugar thing is very pervasive in like all the food we eat. And it's a hard thing to walk away from. And I think that it's not just socially acceptable
Mhm.
to eat, sugar laden things and things that are high in carbohydrates, but it's almost like there's pressure to do so, like
Yeah.
convenience to do so. And
Mhm.
it can be really challenging, where you feel like you have to have this like extra layer of conversation and with your friends or people you go to school with in college. And um I'm hopeful that he will find his way back to it. But it is hard. It's hard whenever he has a migraine to this day. It hurts my heart because I know that there was a time in his life where he did not have to deal with that.
Right. Christy has a freshman son in high school, has switched to ketovore, and he's doing fantastic. Her 18-year-old, not yet.
Wow. That's huge though. To make the
Mhm.
decision for this as a freshman in high school takes a tremendous amount of bravery and just like a personal, like I've decided we're doing it this way. Like that's a brave young person.
Christy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her son has ADHD.
Mhm.
Isn't that what it was?
Yes.
And it's really been beneficial for him with
Mhm.
this. Anyhow, Rachel, I want to thank you so much. We've been here almost 2 hours now.
Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. What a fun Friday night.
Your husband hasn't come home yet?
He doesn't. He has like his games are in Miami. He's got about like a
Oh,
2-hour
gosh,
drive
wow.
once you add like all of the
Oh, no.
you know,
Mm,
the
yes.
drive time and stuff for that.
The growth of traffic here in South Florida.
It's crazy, right? Like, so you're in the
Oh my
Vero Beach
goodness.
area?
I'm surprised like our paths have not crossed yet
We've got to
locally.
make them like head up. We got to get lunch or
Because
something
I'm
together.
gonna share backstage some information with you that like I told Cindy that I was shocked. I was shocked at how close you and Joe really come to us.
Wow.
Yes.
We got to meet up. We got to be purposeful in this because that would
Yeah.
be just cool for us to hang
It's
out.
gonna be a shocker for you for sure.
Love it.
All right. I want to thank everyone in the chat. It's been a great night. And Rachel, if there's anything that you would like to say in closing,
Definitely,
all
I'm going
yours.
to take an opportunity to promote our upcoming participation in the reality series RV Unplugged Season 2. We actually received today, we can't share it yet, but we received the initial like teaser promo for the show commercial for advertising the show. And it is amazing. It is definitely like we knew it wasn't going to be just like a show of GoPros, but it was going to be quite the production. And it's from the first things that we're seeing, it really will be a cool and entertaining show. And I want people to be able to watch people who have been chronically ill, had mobility issues, had excuses for why trying new things were impossible, overcome that and be able to participate, be contenders in life. Like, I think that is super important. So that's the first episode of RV Unplugged Season 2 will be May 29th. We'll actually be on the low carb cruise, which I think is pretty cool because we'll be surrounded by our friends, be able to watch the first episode of that. And then that the season is going to end in the 1st of August at Camp Margaritaville in Auburndale, Florida, close to the Orlando area, finishing up during the Keto Orlando Summit down this way. And so we're so excited about that, hoping that we can help to provide more awareness of this way of eating in kind of a new space. And I just want to thank in advance all of the people in the Two Crazy Ketos family that's going to be able to welcome new people, maybe some looky-loos that are contemplating a new way of eating in the hopes of changing their health. That's certainly our desire.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much, Rachel, wholeheartedly, because I know your schedule is super, super busy. And even with Joe being out of the house right now, this could be very much time you could be having to yourself, having the house to yourself. But
this is
thank
the
you so
best.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate you guys.
Again, I really appreciate it. I've been looking so forward to this. It's been
Yes,
crazy.
we've been so excited.
But anyway, everybody else have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And
Thank you
we
so
will
much,
be back
everyone,
next
for being
week.
here.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.